Dark Nexus. Tonight, it's Act 2, Chapter 86. We're picking up on the evening of the 9th of Neth after the party has made their way back into town from the Wailing House. Victor, ever since he was Roni, has been asking about getting a proper soak. And it sounds like Dora's up for that too. And Dina Galagos over at the Silver Wagon, in thanks for all the good work the two of you did up there, has of course offered to open up her finest couple of rooms and prepare the most luxurious baths for the two of you. For the first time, really, in your lives, getting absolutely clean.
The last time I got clean, I believe I immediately became covered in blood and brains.
Of course.
So I'm very much looking forward to this.
I mean, the last time I think I got quote-unquote clean was when I, used some dirty lake water to clean off.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It worked. I mean, it got you, quote, clean. Air quotes clean. So you'll have a little bit of time this evening before you fall asleep, and I know there is some reading material floating around. Hey, Dora, remember that book that Millicent left on the throne in the Court of the Unspeakable One?
You think I forgot about that?
I'm just curious if this might be a night where she might want to flip through it.
I mean, is it going to make her insane?
Only time will tell.
Where better to go insane than in a bath?
Yeah.
At the Silver Wagon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And Johnny, Victor, 1,000 chapters ago, in the first infiltration of Iris Hill, grabbed that collection of Melison's ledgers and journals and crap from the desk on the second floor, has not had time to actually go through that yet.
Yes.
Want to flip through that tonight?
Sounds great.
Great. Then it sounds like Robert was mentioning that Grip is interested in heading over to the Stain, where we know Denman has been helping with the cleanup effort there, to enjoy a proper drink without being harassed by an assassin.
For fucking once.
For once. And it sounds like Dabs is hanging at the fort tonight, right?
I'll be at the fort, yes.
Great. Let's start with Dora here and this book. The book is large, weighs over 10 pounds. It's over 500 pages long of this incredibly thin parchment, and it doesn't really feel like it's a paper substance that you are familiar with.
Is it skin?
No.
Okay.
No. It seems to be perhaps some alien plant matter pounded into a flat shape. The cover bears a small inset crystal, and there are a series of metallic insect-like clamps along the edges to keep the book closed when it's not being read. They aren't a locking mechanism, but it's like these kind of robot beetle insect fingers clutching the thing shut.
I mean, I will, of course, have given this to Victor to inspect for traps and things.
Give me a perception check.
I shall.
Thank you.
That's a 30.
It is not trapped. Inside the cover of the book, Katie, Dora finds the following inscription written in the Taldane language. May we prevail over the scourge of simplistic thought and lesser men.
Well, that sounds like something Lowell's would say.
As you begin flipping through it, the rest of the book is written in this ancient dialect of Aklo. It is very weird and off in a bunch of ways, but close enough to spellings and words that you know and recognize that you can make out the writing. And as you start browsing, it seems to be focused on conjuration magic. Give me a Knowledge Arcana check.
Okay. 32?
Dora believes she is holding in her hands an actual translation of a translation of one of the Nakadic manuscripts. Of course, it has to be a translation of a translation, since the original text, possibly written hundreds of millions of years ago, by an unknown alien race. Of course, the original text is long lost, so this has to be a copy of a copy of a copy. Little is known of this book except that it was originally created by what is known as the Great Race of Yith, a species of alien capable of forcibly exchanging bodies with individuals of other species. You think of them as having been perhaps maybe destroyed by creatures called the flying polyps over 750 million years ago. The Nakadic manuscripts are all different, actually. Each book is a piece of the Nakadic record, which is believed to be somehow a written record of everything every Yithian ever learned, did, thought, felt, or experienced from the beginning to the end of time. This is sort of like their own version of the Akashic record, but it's just focused on the Great Race. The book seems to encompass vast knowledge about flying polyps, Yithians, and many, many other alien creatures associated with the Elder mythos. It looks like it would take, Katie, about a week of study to thoroughly absorb all it has to teach, but I can tell you there will be a mechanical benefit for doing so should you decide to spend the time. This would also apply to, say, Victor if he wanted to dive in. Do you have Aklo yet, Johnny?
Not yet.
Okay, maybe down the road. In addition, the book functions as a spell book and contains the following arcane spells: Planar Binding and its lesser and greater versions, Teleport, Greater Teleport, Teleport Object, Teleportation Circle, and Interplanetary Teleport, Plane Shift, and Gate.
Japers.
So that's your relaxing night in the tub, flipping through the Nakadic manuscripts, sort of getting your head
Holy
wrapped around
crap.
what you're holding. This is so much wildly more rare and valuable than the Chain of... It makes the Chain of Nights look like it was written yesterday, basically. Yeah. And the spells, and these are all like 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells. These are very powerful spells.
I'm going to look them all up right now to see what lists they're on.
Look them all up.
Are you an arcane spellcaster?
I am a psychic spellcaster, but for the purposes of the mnemonic vestments, any spell of these that is on my list
Right.
is fair game.
Right.
Oh, let's talk about that real quick. I omitted by accident a sentence from that item description.
You were cheating, you can just say.
Katie and I talked about this. I caught her up. The sentence I missed was that in order to cast a spell with the vestments, she does have to decipher the script. So Dora at some point is going to have to get access to a read magic cantrip or some ranks in spellcraft if Katie decides that she wants her to use this item. Of course.
I have a plan.
That's going to happen. Flipping over to Victor's hot tub.
I will also
Yes.
say that Vic would probably ask if there's anyone that could give him a shave and maybe cut his hair.
Yes, absolutely.
Then he would totally do the full thing of like being in the tub, having someone shave his mustache, shave his beard, shave everything down, give him like a proper haircut so it's not like this lanky,
Tangled mess.
gross,
Yeah.
messy thing, but like really clean him up so that he looks nice.
Done and done.
And he would probably ask if there's any way he could get some clothes that are different than the clothes that he has. and
Yeah.
are completely covered in filth.
I bet amongst the gaggle of the sort of upper middle class folks that you talked out of making a bad mistake last night, I bet you can find some folks among that crowd that would be willing to exchange for their lives some dandy clothes.
I mean, he's happy to pay for them. It's not like he's not asking for.
Well, let's be serious here. I think someone's gonna donate those to you.
Okay,
Yeah, you got like a 50 gold piece outfit. Put it on your sheet.
I will put it on my sheet.
Hey, you want to check out? Oh, Katie has her hand raised.
Can I just say that all of these spells are on the psychic, though?
I had no idea.
Katie's so excited.
I think, I loved watching Robert's face when I said interplanetary teleport, as if maybe he didn't even know that was a spell in the book.
I did not know.
Right. So I think that would be. It is a rare spell, right? Like it's not totally unknown, but I think this is not something you all think of as like, sure, we just teleport to other planets. That's just not a thing.
What's another
No.
planet?
Yeah, exactly. People don't think about that, do they?
So the elves having gone to Castrovel
Sure.
during Earthfall and stuff, and there are, some of those really, really ancient civilizations. If you're talking about the Thessalonians, you're talking about, yeah, exactly. Some of those things were part of their legends, but for someone like unschooled like Grip, he'd probably have never heard of that.
No, I don't think so.
Victor would be loosely aware, but might not have ever thought he'd see a spell of interplanetary teleport written down in a book. Yeah.
Nah.
Vic, you want to check out your clump of Millicent stuff before you dive into it?
Absolutely. That is a 26.
You want to use any inspiration?
Nope. I think that he is relaxed and totally sitting in this tub.
Give me a reflex save. We'll describe what happens here.
You're clean shaven.
Maybe. This might forestall that.
That's a 29.
Okay. So, the amber field of force materializes right next to the bathtub. As you jostle it out of the way, you trigger a sepia snake sigil spell, but you manage to avoid getting trapped. So right next to your tub is this, tub-sized amber field of force.
Thank you for doing that rather than trapping the tub and me not being able to then take the bath, because literally that would be the part where I'd just be like,
Now you're just
this
picking
just
on me.
sucks.
Yeah. Okay, so you survive. You survive the last trap.
Does it
in
give
Millicent's
off
writings.
a nice glow kind of thing to read by?
Yeah, so it slowly fades over the course of the evening, since it doesn't have anybody in it, but you're able to use the light of Millicent's creepy sepia snake sigil spell to read her journals. And you pick up some stuff. There's some information to be gathered there. So you find details on the purchase of the Kuru from Wherein. This communication thread seems to start about 8 months back in Calistrel, which is February. You find evidence of correspondence with Risi, Daleen, Rumatri, and other associates, all from Absalom, about 5 months ago in Desnus, May, inviting them to prepare to make the journey north and to wait for word. You find confirmation that the Hound of Tyndalos was not friendly to anyone there, materialized for no apparent reason about 2 weeks ago on the 24th of Lamashan. So I think this confirms what Victor was already thinking happened there.
With the hash marks on the side of the doorway and stuff.
Yep. You find notes about the arrival of the star vampire about a week ago. Melisande understood it to have been drawn there from outer space by the activation of the star stellas. And then just apparently was like, well, we gotta feed this thing.
Who wants to feed the star vampire?
Can we keep it?
Shortly thereafter, you find notes that she, quote, heard the song of the foot soldiers below the carriage house. And excavation was ordered. Melisande notes that they are still asleep, but believes them to be slowly waking. We've already learned a little bit about those elder things from Dabwick and Grip's jaunt.
Referred to as foot soldiers?
That's what she called them. Haster's foot soldiers.
Ah.
And then late in the set of materials, in the stuff you took from the carriage house, you find some more personal writing than frankly you discover anywhere else. She's writing to someone, maybe to herself. It seems like the handwriting gets very shaky, very erratic, maybe made by someone who hadn't been sleeping much or at all. And I have a handout.
It's been ages.
And I thought, if you don't mind, Katie, since this is Melisande, I'd love to have an actual woman's voice.
Sure. Ready?
Yeah.
When was it I first heard the transmission? 13 years ago? A voice. No words. Words without a voice, meaning without sound. A signal. Took me weeks to find the right spot, but finally I did. The top of the house, on the roof, directly above the stone, and directly below Carcosa. The transmission. Thoughts, ideas, a hidden potential for the stones. Their purpose, their true purpose, beyond the parlor tricks. Conjunction. Conjunction. I could succeed where Ariadne failed 600 years ago. And so I worked and planned. In time, I learned it was not his voice I heard, but hers. She was there, but here, speaking through the stones, speaking to me, whispering that she did not fail. She was merely unable to finish, but that I could finish what she started with the right words, the right harvest. I could draw his great yellow eye upon us, and together we would be his brides when he unfurls in majesty from the great cocoon. And so I worked. I planned. Do not trust the Count, Ariadne said. He is not your ally. His goals are not your goals. His path is not your path. Let him find his way through the sewers. Let him claim his paltry reward of shit and servitude. Do not stand in his way, but do not speed his journey. Bide your time. Bide your time. Use him while you can, and act when he departs. Do not trust Tima. She would supplant you. Do not trust Gulliver. He will betray you. Do not trust Rip Tusk. The sun god seeks him. His life is forfeit. Victor could be useful, but he is dangerous. Where should I turn? Turn to the past. Shall I call on Reese? Yes. Daylene? Yes. Asa and Tara and Hollis? Yes, they are pure. And so I worked and planned. And it all went according to his design. The others followed Hazerton and came back mad. They healed, but never fully. They were broken, and then he destroyed them and left. All was going as planned. And then 2 weeks ago, she was suddenly in my dreams. So close, closer than she'd ever been. It was my sign, my signal to begin. And I did. But now I dare not sleep. I have not only failed him, I have failed her as well. There may be time to redeem myself in his eyes, but she will not be forgiving. If I cannot complete this harvest, only one path remains open to her, and it is not mine to walk. So I must stay awake. I will stay awake. I can do it. 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 I can do it.
And then this goes on for pages, Johnny, eventually devolving into just an endless stream of can't.
Were the three names Asa, were those the mercenaries?
You would think those are probably
Or the three fops?
the dandies. Yeah, the dandies from Absalom.
So Ariadne is alive and there and has been communicating.
For 13 years, but something changed 2 weeks ago.
And we came back
2 weeks ago.
mad and broken, and then we're something else.
It's not clear what the timing of that statement is. But yes, she says the Count took you somewhere and you all came back mad.
I mean, my guess is Johnny the player,
Yeah.
when we went away across the desert.
Interlude.
Yeah, the
Interlude.
interlude. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Chew on that for a bit as we turn over to the Stain, where Grip wanders in at the end of this fight with...
I had this is not nothing to do with the stain. This is just a quick thought I had as
Yeah.
you were talking. Johnny was talking about what about clothes and things like that.
Yeah.
I've never stopped to ask, Does Grip have quarters in town?
So, the room at the top of the dungeon in Fort Halecourse, you can find out from talking with folks where your sleeping quarters before you left, and then your lieutenant moved in, and then the scum moved in. So yeah, that place at the top of the dungeon, your favorite place in the world, was his quarters. But it does also seem as though for a long period of time, the five of you slept in the middle bedroom on the west side of the top floor of Iris Hill while Hazardton drugged you.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
2 beds, 3 pallets in there.
Neat.
Yeah.
Cozy. It's a sleepover.
But I think you would find... Oh, yeah, interesting. So there would probably be remnants, parts of your clothing still up there. I mean, she wouldn't have had use for them, and the scum wouldn't have had use for them.
He might go at some point, and he might change his clothes too. He's not as sartorial as our friend Victor, but his stuff is pretty gore-sodden, so at some point he may do that. Anyway, but that's
and it does look like his clothing style was very utilitarian in the day. So there would be stuff that would be incredibly, tailored to fit him, his unusual size.
Yes.
But you're wandering back into the Stain after all of these events at the Whaling House to find, sort of everyone has cleared out for the night, and Denman is back behind the bar, sort of running a towel along it, kind of cleaning up the place and eyeing it over thoughtfully, as though he's pondering something. Barnabas might be here, playing in the corner to provide some ambiance.
Let's say he is.
All right. So he's in the corner, sort of Aragorning, playing some guitar music in the corner.
Grip will he'll see Denman behind the bar, and so he'll walk up and sit down and.
What can I get you?
Is the bar itself crowded, or is it?
It's just the two of you and
Great.
Barnabas.
Then he'd say, well, to be honest, Denman, I'm more interested in you sitting and having a drink with me than serving me a drink.
Oh. Well, look what I found down here. Now, he's dead, so this is not a crime. But check this out. And he pulls up the oldest bottle of whiskey you've ever seen in your very short life. Grabs a couple of glasses and heads over to a table.
Fucking-tastic. That looks just the ticket.
Pours 2 drinks.
Seems like you're starting to find a bit of a stride here, yeah?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking about what's next. I wanted to lend a hand with the cleanup of this because I know how to organize shit like this. But I don't know. I'm thinking it's a time of change for all of us, isn't it?
You got that right. Look, the reason I came, there's 2 things I wanted to say to you before we leave, because we're probably leaving before too long.
On the ship.
I think that's the plan, eh?
Aye.
And I don't know if I'll ever set foot in this shithole of a town again or not. So, what I wanted to say was, first, a while back, you came to me and you pulled me aside and had a question for me before we went and dealt with that what was pretending to be winter.
Yeah.
And I think I sort of fucking brushed you off and didn't let on that I knew very well the joys of putting a fist through a fucking face. It's really the only thing I'm fucking good at. We were all in a place trying to figure out who we were, because I don't know if you remember, but as far as we knew, we had only been alive for about 3 days at that point.
Yeah.
And I was learning things about myself that I did not particularly like to learn, and your question came at a time when I was wrestling with that, so I could have been a little more fucking forthright with you. As I was learning these things, I don't know if you know, Dora can do some things. She can hold on to a thing and tell you things about that thing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So one of the first times she did that was with my constable badge, and that's when I first learned some things that perhaps, well, the vision was me putting an axe to the throat of a 14-year-old boy.
Oh, shit, man.
And we got out of that vision. I was not particularly impressed with that vision, but young Ray... And he pauses when he says Ray.
Yeah.
Was it just 2 days ago that he'd fucking died? Anyway, Ray took great exception at my actions in that vision, and he had some unkind but true things to say to me. And I took exception, saying, well, sometimes someone needs a fucking axe to their throat. And I stand by that. That is true. Sometimes that is the only fucking way to satisfy what needs to be done. And sometimes there's no choice. But there's a choice to not be a cunt about it. And this town, I'm telling you all this to this end, this town has been under the thumb and under the boot of a lot of cunts. And I've been one of them. I've been one of the foremost of them. And I'm trying to not be. Because that's a choice, right? I'll fucking hit you if I need to hit you. But I don't have to be a cunt about it. So what I'm trying to say is this town could use some folks looking out for it that aren't gonna be a cunt. And I know that fucking Roni Gull Stoicha, I don't know what the fuck to call him anymore, but I think he was probably having a conversation with Vouston about maybe stepping up to try to be a leader in this town, and I think that's probably a good fucking choice. But you know, Denman, if you wanted to be someone the town looked at with eyes that you might be not used to having looked at you, I think you could do well here. And I'm glad to have met you.
Shit, brother. Let's drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, man. I got a lot to think about.
Well, let's have some more of these drinks. That always helps.
Cheers. I love it. And, do you hang there and drink with him?
Yes.
Meanwhile,
We give some booze to Barnabas, too.
Yeah, oh yes, Barnabas is in on this. We move over to the fort, where Dabs is, probably picking back up on some of their tending to folks duties that they had on the ship. Or what are they up to, Polly?
Well, we might be leaving soon, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine Dabs is making sure that this fort is doing what it should be as a shelter.
Yeah. Maybe even helping out with those dogs, making sure that they're...
Well, it's a crisis. It's like a crisis center, right? It's like the... it's like a sanctuary for people from these past couple of events. So trying to make sure that things are organized. Dabwick's not a very good people person in general, but I do think they are opinionated. So I can see Dabwick kind of like bustling around.
Yeah, giving instructions.
Yeah. Making suggestions, maybe not always rubbing people the right way.
You're passing through the portal from the west barracks into the front entry hall, making to head towards the kitchen, and you hear from the stairwell that leads up to the second floor, you're psst, psst, psst.
Oi. What's that?
Little one.
What?
Over here. You see, kind of tentatively coming down the stairs, this real shifty-looking dude, human, in his 30s. He's got like kind of some beard grown in now, hasn't shaved for a while. His scruffy brown hair. He's in an old chain shirt, and you recognize him as the guy who ran the fuck away from you, who had been standing under glowing Jill with the halberd, caught sight of Grip and Roni at the time, and just simply cut and run.
Right. Abandoned their post.
Yeah.
Immediately.
It's that guy.
Okay.
Hey, you're cool, right? I mean, look, you're not gonna tell anybody that you saw me, right? can't afford to have you telling me. I mean, you're cool, right? Dabwick? Is that your name? I'm trying to get your name.
It's Dabwick. It's Dabwick. And what's your name? What's your name?
You can call me Nix.
Nix.
Oh, no! Shit!
It's all right. Nix.
Call me... Call me
James.
James.
Nix. I'm Dabs. You can call me Dabs, Nix. All right?
Cool.
We're cool. Now, why don't you want me to see you?
I have a request to make of you.
Me? Personally?
I was talking to the kids, the little kids, and the bossy girl told me. Look, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I hear you've got a hat, a special hat that makes you look like somebody else. I kind of need to look like, oh man, I kind of need to not look like myself. And if you could, extend the courtesy to a brother, a fellow human being, of this hat, so I could look like somebody else. Dabs, are you cool?
Nix, listen. All right, love. I think I understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
What are you most worried about? I mean, this is a very important item. It's very special, and I need to really consider the options here. Like, what's really concerning you, pal?
Oh man, the constable's gonna kill me.
Come on, mate.
The constable's gonna kill me.
The constable? No, the constable and I are mates.
He looked me in the eye and said he was gonna kill me. He made a vow on some demon lord I've never heard of. And I think the Triangle Man is gonna kill me also. And I'm not here to be killed, little friend. I'm not here to be killed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you all are into, but I need help. You help people, right? Help me. Come on.
I am going to help you. I'm going to help you the best way I can. I'm going to make sure that everything's all right. I'm going to put you in the right place. Follow me.
Oh, man.
Come with me. I'm going to take care of everything, my friend. Come with me.
Man. I don't know if I got a bad feeling about this.
No. We're good. Right, mate? Come on. You look desperately hungry and ready for a rest. Am I right?
Yeah.
Listen, the constable, he's not here right now. He went out for a drink.
Oh.
The other fella, the fella with the hat, he's up taking a bath.
Oh shit, let's get some food.
Let's get some food and hang out a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more. Come on with me.
Yeah, I've kind of been scrounging what the kids can bring me, because I haven't been scared to go to the kitchen.
Let me get this straight. I just want to catch up on make sure I got one thing right.
Yeah.
You said you've been hanging out with the kids.
There is not a bolt hole in this entire fort that Maeve doesn't know.
A what?
She's been helping me. I'm staying out of people's way. I don't want to be in anybody's way.
I think it's time for you to come out of the darkness. Come into the light. Let's get you some real food. Nothing scavenged.
Yeah. He kind of
sit at a table.
Leads the
with
way.
A chair. Yes, right this way.
Yeah, food. Yeah. Goes in the kitchen. He's like serving himself.
Now, is there a...
He looks like he's barely eaten in days.
Right.
Dabwick would like to lead this person to a room where they can eventually close the door and cast Hold Portal on it until the constable gets here.
So you are trying to deceive him.
Yes.
Give me a bluff check.
You're the lawful goodiest. This guy seriously has main character syndrome. Like, he's hurting.
All right. So what am I rolling? A bluff check here?
Yeah, give it to me.
Come on, with all that role playing, I even bluffed you.
I'll give you a bonus. I'll give you a bonus.
All right. Oh, it's a 12 on the die minus 1. It's an 11.
4 on the die plus 0. He does not seem particularly cunning. He seems like the kind of guy who, when he's got his confidence up, can probably talk a lot of people into a lot of things. But he seems in a bad way. And I want to make this clear, genuinely terrified of Grip.
Yeah.
Like,
good.
Not just, oh, good. Okay, great. All right, you've got him. Look, you can take him up to Grip's old quarters on the top of the dungeon, and
bringing some rations along the way. You know, like maybe some nice warm blanket, a woolen nice warm blanket. You know, we'll get you set up, and you can relax for a little while. Maybe even take a little nap.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Wouldn't that feel good? Look at all you've been through. All you've been through.
Oh man,
it's terrible.
I don't think you can appreciate everything I've been through.
Dabbers cares for you. He's listening. I hear you.
Shoot, boom, shoot, lock, stack.
Oh, and by the way, don't ever call an halfling a little friend. Close, lock, boom.
Oh shit, man! I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
End of book 2.
We'll see you next chapter.
Wow.
Oh damn, that was cold.
Cold-hearted
That was fucking rough.
Well, he totally abandoned his post, right?
I'm so proud of you.
He did abandon his post.
So we'll leave Nixon there to
Panic
and fret and stew tonight, as overnight, in your various locations, you all dream. Oh. And you all dream the same dream, because of course, your dreams are of God and for God, and God, Shaman Dor, dreams your dreams because you are holy. You know the inmost blot, and it knows you. It knows Dabwick. And just like Dabwick was thinking about home early this evening, you all dream of home. A sewer. It is all sewers and no sewers. It is foul beyond description, except to Dabwick. Dabwick almost sees the beauty, the grand design, the sublime conglomeration of it all. How every city should be shitting its waste into the same stinking cesspit beneath the same blood-soaked streets. It only makes sense, doesn't it? Isn't it perfect? Isn't it beautiful? Hollow, empty, endless, growing, changing, becoming. Yes, give him your waste. Give him your wasted lives. Give him your wasted potential. Give him your breathtaking, bone-deep, all-consuming loneliness. Give him your fears, your nightmares, your anguish, your alienation, your hate. Give him your hate. Give him your hate. Give him your violence. Give him your boundless lack of concern for anyone but yourself. Give him yourself. Give him all of it. Open your veins and bleed unto him. Open your mouth and drown in him. Become him. Become him. You are him. You always were. You always will be. There is no beginning or end to your story because you have no story. How could you? You are simply the shit squelching through the fetid, rotting bowels of your king. And shit has no story. It doesn't matter. You don't matter. Praise. 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 And we wake on the morning of the 10th of Neth. The shipment's coming today or tomorrow. The ship is due back tomorrow. Dabs comes to the fort. Dora and Victor come to in the silver wagon. Grip comes to face down on a table with this resonating, hollow awfulness throbbing in your heads. And in particular, Grip, as you come to, you find that overnight you have been kind of scratching at your tattoos. There's a little feeling going on. There's something going on there. Something on your body feels a little tingly. We gonna look for some therapy this morning?
Oh, God, yes.
Dora with Tolman, Dabs with Nasa, Grip with Stasi, Victor with Elburn. How's that sound?
Hey.
Is there any specific conversation any of you want to have with those specific people?
I could have a conversation with Elbert.
Let's do that one then. All right, so word was that you wanted to speak with me.
Yeah, Elbert. I know that you went through a lot of stuff at the asylum. Kept yourself alive and tried to help all those poor people.
I did my best.
I thought it was really brave what you did.
Oh.
And I was wondering, where do you see yourself now? I mean, I know you were a patient there, but honestly, you seem perfectly fine.
I was put there for nefarious reasons, thank you. I see myself at a bit of an impasse. I have something here that I haven't had in quite a long time, which is a community of sorts,
Yeah.
I've got people to look after, and people who appreciate what I have to offer. I don't know what comes after this, frankly. I don't know.
Well, before you ended up in the asylum, what were you going to do then?
Oh my God. I wanted to sing.
I've never heard you sing.
I haven't sang in a long time, frankly. I envisioned a life for myself on the stage. I had delusions of making it to absolute, but there hasn't been much call for song here, either at the asylum or in Thrushmore.
Well, definitely feels like some song and some joy is definitely needed in Thrushmore right now. Seems to me like an enterprising fellow like yourself could really sort of carve a niche for himself here.
Go on.
This place has been bereft of hope, joy. It's been held under the heel of, us, actually. But we're not us anymore. We're someone else.
Yes. Do you think you could put in a good word for me with Dino? There's a stage. I don't know if you noticed it as you came in. There is a stage in the Great Room of the Silver Wagon.
Oh, I didn't. I have to say that I did not notice that there was an actual stage there. I think we could absolutely put in a good word for you there. And also, I think you will know some people that are maybe going to try to help the town out some. But I'll let them reveal themselves to you as they choose to.
Oh, how mysterious.
Yeah.
Yes, tell me what Dina says, and I'll get back to work. You can feel like in the notebook he's sort of been keeping as he's talking with you. He's jotting down musical notation right now.
I definitely would love to hear you sing sometime before we go.
I can arrange that.
Oh, I get it. Like a joke, right?
Hello! See, I feel like to a certain extent you understand me.
Yes, absolutely. I understand you.
My friend,
Yes.
thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you said. Thank you for all you've done for these people. I know you make people nervous. I know it's not your intention. And I know that you see things in your own way. That can have ups and downs. But on the whole, I applaud you. The way you see things, the truths you know, the truths you speak. Even if sometimes, it's a little bit upsetting. But,
Mostly downs.
yeah, but it's not all downs, is it? No.
Feels like it lately.
Tell me about it.
Well, the Grip and I, think of him as my best friend, and he's been real sore at me lately. It's been hard.
I understand. Having a falling out is always hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to open a door of communication.
Yeah.
You can't lean on him to do all the work of repairing your friendship. That's work you can do too, my friend. You can lift half of the weight. He's very strong. He'll lift the weight. He'll lift the rest.
Yeah, I'm maybe more of an eighth of the weight, and he could lift the rest.
But he can do it. Open the door, my friend.
Open the door.
You're very good at talking. Open the door.
Open the door.
Open the door with all of them. I see the way Dabwick keeps an eye on you. Open the door there. And with, hey, Dora, I'm sure things are weird between the two of you. Open a door. That shall be the name of my first song.
Open the door. All right. Well, that's something to ponder. Thanks, Elburn. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm working on my song. The next block of the day. I have a question for the group of you first. They're going to plan, after Tolman's conversation with Dora yesterday morning, they're gonna plan some sort of group memorial service here today. And the idea of burning came up in that conversation. Does that feel like, because it's a lot of bodies, right? My gut is saying some sort of
funeral pyre.
Some sort of funeral pyre rather than a mass grave might be the way to go here.
Mass grave feels like asking for a future AP.
Right? It really does. Yeah. It really does.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll pass that word on to all those NPCs as they plan that. For this afternoon, let's heal some sanity.
Maybe.
Tolman and Dora. Yep. 2 for Dora. He just got it. Dora's down to 8. Nasa and Dabs. 1 back for Dabwick.
Yay.
Down to 3, Polly.
Yay.
Grip and Stasi. Why don't you roll that up for Stasi, Katie?
22.
Excellent. So what's her stat? Is she using intelligence or wisdom? Wisdom. What's her bonus?
5.
Oh! Grip's down to 4.
What?
Stasi is the best counselor ever.
There is legitimately some healing happening.
It's the sitting and staring that Grip likes the best.
Yes.
I'm sure she takes comfort in it as well.
This is for Roni. Natural 20.
Oh.
2 back for Roni. Roni's down to
11.
11. Right, you got nothing yesterday, right?
Nope.
Oh, God. Are we going to do some lesser restorations today, or what do you think?
We have to wait until I can prepare
After.
spells.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. We did include
did
the
last.
restorations already.
Last
Okay.
night,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
So also, not long after you all depart from your counseling sessions and Dabwick fills you in on Nick's cooling his heels upstairs at the top of the dungeon, word does come to distract the group of you that there is a wagon train pulling into town. And heading down the hill to the road from the northwest, you can see this very long wagon train, captained and protected by a group of gnomes pulling into town. The captain of the security team, a gnomish ranger called Osgood Turnhart, tells tales of hath the spiders in the north, a preponderance of banditry between Rosenport and Thrushmore. Rough, the going is rough and slow. Tell me the ship's still here. She hasn't left yet, has she?
It's not here right now, but it is returning.
Oh, good. I'm going to need help getting all of this magical hardwood, tap, 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 into the depository. You want to give me a hand?
How did I know they were going to pick me?
I mean, I'm happy to help.
I'll help you move your wood, my friend.
And Dabs, is that something you want to help out with?
I'll definitely help.
Excellent. Dora, research today?
Research.
And Victor, Johnny's mentioned a couple of things to me. You want to take a look around town for
Yep.
Keldrin
You
Mon?
know it.
All right. Let's dive into today's research. It's been a few chapters. Okay, as we left off Lowell's journal, we had left it with 22 knowledge points left of 30. So, Katie, because you have made a successful check there, each 8-hour period of research grants a cumulative 1+1 bonus on your check, so you'll get to add that on top of your +1 from the Xandalus journal key, basically. And I assume you're going to use history?
I am.
Give me that roll.
29.
Ooh. So the complexity is 15, so that's 20. Oh, so close. All right, so you get to roll die 12 plus your intelligence modifier plus an extra 2 for damage to the knowledge points.
For 15.
Whoa!
Nice.
Knocking it all the way down to 7. You will almost certainly finish it up tomorrow. Okay, let's get into this. So as Doris starts the day, you've gotten a picture, a loose picture at least, of the man, Hazerton Pragmus Lowells IV. You've wrapped your head around how he writes and organizes these diaries, and the next few sections of this project are all about putting together his story. Again, there are books missing, and his writing is rambling and confused, but you can piece together an overview of there being 3 pivotal periods of his life: his upbringing, his college years, and his scholarly career that followed. You are able to piece together his early years and family history first. He was born in 4665, that makes him 53 years old. His father was Count Hazerton Lowells III, ruler of Versex County, one of a long line of Ustalavian ancestry. By the son's reckoning, Lowells III was a distant, withholding, wealth-obsessed, hypercritical, ice-cold asshole who went out of his way to spend as little time at home as possible. He had vast political ambitions, and he spent weeks and weeks at a time in Caliphus trying to improve his standing in court. Hazerton IV seemed to both hate and barely know his father. His mother was Namira Caligar, daughter of a ludicrously wealthy merchant in Curse, which is the capital of another nation that borders Lake and Carthan. It's called Druma, and there is a Golarian wiki rabbit hole for you. Druma isn't going to figure into our story much, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a highlight here. Thrushmore is basically at the northernmost point of Lake and Carthan, and Curse is at the southernmost point, directly across the lake, which in this case means 400 miles away.
Oh.
Druma is this super wealthy country obsessed with trade and ruled by the high, quote, prophet of this strange secular religion that values wealth and trade over any deity. The whole society is organized around the prophecies of Calistrade. Again, Druma's not really going to play a role in what we're doing here, but let me just give you a few tenets of the Callistocrats, as they're known, because Hazerton's mom growing up in this lifestyle might give you a little window into what Lowells became. Key tenets include conserve resources, exploit agreements, outwit others for profit, avoid charity, and avoid physical contact. They're a fun people, super fun, very, very loving. Hazerton was obsessed with his mom. On the one hand, he worshipped her. He accounted her as a brilliant scholar, a ravishing beauty, and a powerful, dominating leader. On the other hand, he hated her. He repeatedly calls her a, quote, sex-starved harlot, a cruel monster, a withholding ice queen, and a traitor to her family and her bloodline and the grand history of the Lowell's name. Super healthy stuff there. Mom and Dad met while studying at the Syncomacty School. Their marriage was, as you can imagine, deeply unhappy. There was a second son, 7 years younger than Hazerton. No name even mentioned. No details even, except to note that the little brother apparently committed suicide around age 20. Fuck him, move on, seemed to be Hazerton's way of processing that particular tragedy. And it's in this part of the research that you put together that Lowell's, as you may have guessed by now, got all of his interest in occult lore and forbidden knowledge from his mother. She learned of the King in Yellow and what she calls the sacred cocoon of Carcosa during her years at the Syncomacty School, and she never gave up her obsession with them. It was she who figured out that Iris Hill had been built over Thrushmore's third star stella. She orchestrated the secret excavation of it without her husband's knowledge, and after personally murdering the workers who dug it out so that it would remain a secret, she practically raised her son down there, poring over forbidden tomes while they bathed day after day, year after year, in the sickly yellow light of the obscene standing stone. Finally, in 4683, just a couple of years before the big Mirkmain expedition to Kadira, at age 18, Hazerton enrolled in the Syncomacty School of Sciences. We're down to the 15 knowledge point threshold here, Katie. Next up, it's a deep dive into the sickening mess that was Hazerton's college years. His writing during this period is even more erratic than usual, and it's hard to piece together solid details, but you're super smart, and you can wrap your heads around a loose narrative here. So Hazerton went from being a hotshit rich kid in a small town to being one of the worst students at the most prestigious and intellectually rigorous university on the continent. He was a mess. He was hated as a rich kid, hated for being an asshole, hated for his pretensions, hated by nearly everybody.
He was Edgar Allan Poe.
He barely passed his classes because they didn't address any topics he was actually interested in, was his assertion. He was a complete and utter outsider, except for his two close friends. Well, one close friend and one hanger-on. 3 misfits that gave everyone the creeps, found each other, and built a little family for themselves.
Wow.
Hazerton Lowells, Myacnean Munn, and Gulliver Vaticus.
Oh.
Munn was in a similar boat to Lowells, his pretentious rich kid, from Absalom in his case though, with perverted interests and a deep, disturbing obsession with the occult. But where Hazerton was homely, Munn was gorgeous. Where Hazerton was a shallow thinker, Munn was a genius, ahead of the pack in any field he put his mind to. Munn wouldn't seem on the surface to really have had much need for Lowells, except Lowells had his mother and her long history of studying Carcosa lore, and every time Munn found a new rabbit hole to dive down, it was Lowells who could manage to find the hookup of the right book on the right topic at the right time. It was so simple, after all. County funds are easily diverted, and Namira loved to fuck around with her husband's livelihood. Vaticus was the odd man out. Dirt poor family, no resources, no pedigree, no friends. All he had was his genius brain and his cunning, and his desperate need for some group, any group, to be a part of at this unforgiving school so far from home, which he couldn't actually afford and was perpetually scared of being kicked out of for non-payment of his tuition. Vaticus was desperate, and Munn and Lowells took advantage of him. Vaticus started out as a pet project, someone the two rich kids could use as a punching bag to make them feel better about themselves. It amused them to watch the younger student continually debase himself for the pocket change they would throw his way, or the meals they would deign to buy him. Eventually, peering through the lines here, it seems like Vaticus may have even eventually thought they were his friends, but from the way Lowells writes about him, it's clear that was never the case. And eventually Lols and Munn got into some really bad, really dark, really fucked up shit. Munn was a socialite, obsessed with Hastur. Lols was a self-hating, pasty little turd who became obsessed with Shaman Dor. Both came to see themselves as serving Carcosa, but while Munn wanted to ride there on a fine carriage pulled by his inferiors, Lols privately, perhaps even unconsciously, believed himself only worthy of crawling there through the shit-filled sewers. And they got into some dark stuff. Stuff so bad that Lols barely even writes about it. But you could tell they were kidnapping people, and Munn was experimenting on them somehow, some way. Surgeries, drugs, mutilations, mind control, deep, dark depravities and violations. Things that Munn did while Hazerton watched. And they got caught. Well, their lair was discovered. And because of Vaticus's skill as a burgeoning doctor in training, they used him as their patsy. Vaticus took the fall for them in the press with the school and the authorities in exchange for essentially room and board for life, being a kept pet. All the shame fell on his name, and the two rich boys walked scot-free, their names clean, and then they secretly stole Vaticus out from under the eyes of the law and hid him away. And then they had this noose around Vaticus's neck. If he ever fell out of line, they could turn him over. And there was also some familial hold, something that terrified Vaticus even more. They would seek out his mother, grandmother, someone he cared about, and they would tell them about all the things Vaticus had done, and it would destroy them. It's hard to piece out specifically, but by the time you sort through this period of Lols' life, you've got Vaticus living with Lols as a totally defeated, utterly subservient houseboy / project monkey, living his life completely under Lols' thumb. So, Lols had always been obsessed with the history of the Versex region and of Thrushmoor specifically. He was especially obsessed with the Standing Stones, and he came to believe that they had been placed here by aliens during the Age of Serpents, an era of time so far in the past that it's not even able to be date-stamped. We're talking about before Earthfall, when meteors destroyed all civilization on the planet. We're talking before the start of the Aslanti and Thessalonian empires. Lols believed these alien beings landed here on Golarion and built a staging area to act as ground zero for a coming infestation. That these standing stones were interstellar beacons to Carcosa and could call to it across the vastness of space. Lols believed that the aliens' efforts in this region were partially thwarted by the serpent folk that lived here at the time, as evidenced by the incomplete set of stones on Briarstone Isle. But he believed that the stones in Thrushmoor must have been active at one point, and that the cataclysm of Earthfall was not actually steered by the Starstone, but that it was the result of a minuscule shard of the inmost blot riding a castaway comet, dragging meteors and stardust and the Starstone, coincidentally, behind it, right to Golarion, and wherever Shaman Dor's comet struck down is where it now slumbers on Golarion. And this belief made him a complete laughingstock in all academic circles. Especially because Lols was canny enough to understand that he couldn't just start publicly talking about Shaman Dor. That even though it would give the inmost blot a massive boost of strength and power, it would almost certainly result in Lols being hunted down and killed. And maybe it would even lead to the worst case scenario in his mind, that someone else would find where Shaman Dor is sleeping before he did. He knew that timing was everything when it came to spreading knowledge of the inmost blot, and he needed to find the slumbering god first and commune with him directly to learn how best to do his great work. Praise, praise, praise. So he had to push forward his theories while talking around them, and you can probably imagine the ridiculous jumble. Earthfall wasn't caused by the Starstone. See, the Starstone was just along for the ride, man. There was this comet that was flying here because it was drawn to my hometown by these two totally inactive and completely non-magical standing stones. But see, they weren't always inactive. The aliens turned them on. You get the idea. It was ludicrous. And it led to him getting into embarrassing public fights in research journals and with illustrious scholars like Henri Meertmain. And reading through the lines, and knowing what you do of Meertmain, it seems likely that Meertmain actually went out of his way to mock and belittle and pull the spotlight off of anything and everything Lowell's tried to put forward as a means of probably keeping knowledge of Carcosa in the dark. And there you have it. Lowell's college years. Very, very normal stuff. Finally tonight, at the 10 knowledge point threshold, it's the post-college years. And Lowell's time as the Count of Versex, the years that bring you all into the picture. There's only so much to learn about the group of you because he didn't think of you as anything but background players in the glorious drama of his life. You were just context. But knowing that you would dig as deep as you possibly could here, Dora, and work to read hard between the lines, you're able to come up with the beginnings of a narrative. Wherein, the stranger, was the key. She was the fulcrum. She, as you know, was this legendary slaver, and she somehow knew Lowell's mom. In fact, it seems as though Namira may have been the one to introduce Wherein to the worship of Hastur. There was some deep, dark, old tie there. Enough of a tie that when Hazerton started to want kept pets to do his bidding, to read his books for him, to kill his enemies for him, to watch his back, to do his dirty work, Namira sent Wherein to her son, and Lowell's began buying people from her. At first, it was a research assistant. Lowell's had this deep interest in Carcosa and Hastur and Jamandor, and he needed help with all the reading. He was good at finding books, but he needed someone faster to do the preliminary pass-throughs, and Wherein provided that someone in the form of a 23-year-old Tima Antea. This was back in the early 90s. Tima was brilliant, but prone to rages. She came from, as Namira said over and over and over, filthy barbarian stock. In order for young Tima to be of any real help, she needed to be changed. And that's where Mun and Vaticus came in. Mun made the drugs and sent them to Lowell's. Lowell's gave them to Vaticus and made him administer them to Tima. And they worked for years and years. This started in Rosenport and continued when Lowell's moved his entourage back to his parents' house. And even after Mun moved on to Casimir, he still kept sending the drugs to control Tima for years and years. 20 years ago, Hazerton's father died. There's no information available on that, but you've certainly learned a little on your own. And then his mother, quote, died. And Lowell's IV became the Count of Versex. He reached out to Wherein again because his occult research was taking him further afield and bringing him into contact with more and more dangerous people. It seemed as though there was a rotating roster of mercenaries and slaves unequal to the task of protecting him for years, until the arrival of two teenagers Wherein referred to as very special as our anathema. And she called them Riptusk and Victor. It was clear that Wherein wasn't certain if Victor was his real name, but until he started calling himself Roni, that was the only name she was ever able to get out of him. Riptusk and Victor both showed extreme potential, but they both needed to be changed. So Mun made the drugs. Vaticus was forced to administer the drugs. Lowell's pets were made compliant enough that at various points they no longer needed to be drugged, especially after they were all introduced to the power of Carcosa, the King in Yellow, and Jamandor. They were all seated, of course. Riptusk and Victor seemed more attracted to Hastur, the half-orc to the chaos and nihilism, the young Verizian to the power and control, and the perfect anonymity of a life spent behind a mask. But Tima deeply embraced the inmost blot. In fact, in a way that earned Lowell's admiration, even though he grew to fear the speed of her transformation. The Tima situation was a point of frustration for Lowell's because the opportunity to say the name to her was robbed from him by his friend Mun on Tima's wedding night. And then Tima turned around and robbed him of the chance to say it to Rip Tusk and Victor, which she almost immediately did. And she also infected a number of townsfolk before Lols could, as he put it, instruct her about moderation and timing. And this choice of Muns, you would note, represents a change in the way that Lols writes about Mun. They remain friends after this point, but reading through the lines, Dora would suspect that Lols somehow, some way, someday, will find and take his opportunity to get back at him. Anyhow, over time, Tima and Vaticus got married for whatever reason, had a kid. Rip Tusk and Victor fell into their jobs with gusto. They simply loved murdering people for Lols, or so says Lols. They were all fully Hazarton's agents and dutiful servants of Carcosa, says Lols, the megalomaniac. And here's where things probably get frustrating as hell for Victor in particular. It's impossible to truly learn about the depth of your experiences and your motivations from these writings because they're all from Lols' point of view. But you can at least confirm a timeline, which I'll outline in a second. And you can piece together, reading through the lines of Hazarton's mania, that the three of you, Tima, Rip Tusk, and Victor, were very important to Wherein. You meant something to her. Over the years, she stopped by repeatedly and regularly to check in on you in a way that she never did with any of the early bodyguards she sent to Lols or the later mercenaries she sent his way. Okay, timeline. Tima was sent to Lols 25 years ago. Her origin was definitely in Numeria, and she had definitely been held by Feshka Nellet for a time, who we discussed way back in Act 1. Rip Tusk and Victor came to Lols 15 years ago, and they had both previously been held for years by a longtime associate of Wherei's named Biting Lash. Rip Tusk was Gurundi in origin. Victor was from Riddleport, or thereabouts. The surname that Wherein had was Zolotov, Victor Zolotov. But again, the kid was the best liar she ever crossed paths with, so she was never entirely sure. Reading through the lines, you can confirm that Ray was likely born 22 years ago, which would mean he was probably actually born in Rosenport. 2 years later, the Count and his followers moved to Iris Hill after his father's death. 2 years after that, Tima and Vaticus got married. 2 years after that, Tima had another kid, a girl named Daria. By the time you hit the 4-year mark after that, you can find no reference to that second child. That would be around 13 or 14 years ago. And there's not much reference to Ray after that, except it sounds like he went away for a while to Cheliax, and then returned and pledged himself fully to Lols' cause, or so says Lols. And I'll throw in here as well what little you can piece together on Melisande. She comes into the picture around the same time as Tima back in Rosenport. She was a teenager drawn to this circle by what seemed to be an attraction to Mun and a pre-existing knowledge of Hastur. She came from Kadira originally, and based on reading through some lines, you might wonder if her father may have been one of the cultists that kidnapped Ulver Zandalis. That she may have landed at the Sinkamacti school in search of some of the stuff that Mirtmain had stolen from them. It's not totally clear, because as soon as Melisande put herself forward to Lols as a willing servant, he quickly stopped thinking of her as a person, and she just faded into the background details of his life. But you would know for fact that she had been in his employ for decades, she had been dedicated to Hastur since childhood, that she seemed to have plots and plans of her own going since the beginning, and that she was likely using Lols as a means to some end all along. In fact, you'd process their relationship as one of contempt on his part in the early years, when she seemed to be a barely functioning alcoholic, to one of guarded suspicion in the past decade or so, when she cleaned herself up and seemed to shift to a life of complete and utter focus. That's what Dora pulls up today. We'll end with the research tonight, and that is the end of Chapter 86. Stew on all that, friends. We'll pick up next time.
Chew upon this.
Chew upon that. Dark Nexus is a creation of Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, which are used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo Inc. For more information about Paizo's community use policy, please visit paizo.com/communityuse. And for more information about Paizo and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's PAIZO.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Sirenscape. Check them out at sirenscape.com. That's SYRINSCAPE.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music, composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. Special thanks to Toy, without whose generosity this project would not have been possible. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Chris, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Darren, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
WTPK.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Cincinnati.
Love it.
Tag,
That was
season
good.
2 tag.